everybody, thanks for coming back for another video. Continuing on with these Working Knives Around the World series. And I believe this is number 5. And in this one we're going to go to Scotland. And I'll show you my interpretation of a Sgian Dubh. This was a challenge for me. You know, that's like I said before with these Working Knives Around the World thing. One of the reasons I wanted to do it was to challenge myself and make different style knives that I've never made before with my very limited equipment and materials and supplies and all that. And I just I'm not really equipped to be making knives anymore like I used to be able to. But yeah, I got Allie out here supervising me, making sure I'm, and you know, I haven't really talked about my mascot before in my videos, but I think Allie here, she's pretty appropriate considering where I live, because we got these little guys everywhere. I mean, they're in drainage ditches and lakes and ponds and everything all over the place. So here we go. And I learned a lot along the way making this thing and made a lot of mistakes. And I contemplated not doing a video on this until I made another one and corrected all my flaws. But I really like it. I consider it maybe something an old-timey blacksmith might have made years ago. You know, and it had some little flaws and imperfections in it. You know, it's not a show knife. You know, it's a working knife. And although a Sgian Dubh is not really considered a working knife anymore in Scotland, but we're going way back. We went back with the American Indians and the old Western frontier knives and things like that I've done a couple on. But traditionally, right now, Sgian Dubh is basically just used in ceremonies, to my understanding. Like ceremonies where they'd have traditional Scottish dress on with the kilts and everything. So it's my understanding that Sgian Dubhs really aren't used as working knives anymore. They're ceremonial knives, and I think Sgian Dubh translates to black knife, if I'm correct on that. Let me know if I'm not down in the comments. But they're used ceremoniously now, and part of when they dress up in their kilts and their Scottish garb and go to ceremonies and stuff like that, they'll have one, and they sell them as souvenirs and stuff like that. But if you go back in time, they were originally used for eating, preparing food, cutting meat and cheese and bread, and you know, general purpose tasks. A Sgian Dubh would be used for. It's kind of a medium-sized knife. I think generally they had, you know, blades maybe between 4 and 6 inches, which is kind of sticking true to, you know, the knives in this series that I'm doing. You know, not fighting knives, not you know, big butcher knives or anything like that. We're just working knives, you know. And this is the typical style of a Sgian Dubh. Now, here's some pictures of some that I found. Okay, so I didn't base this on any particular knife that I saw in my research online. This is my own interpretation, and I kind of just, you know, made it as I went along, you know, figuring it all out. So this was my very first attempt at pewter casting. Never done it before. Always kind of wanted to do it. I've casted brass and aluminum before, and I've done a lot of lead casting, but never pewter. And a lot of old knives had pewter, had pewter fixtures on them, you know, pommels, guards, decoration, various things, you know. There was a knife that I think was pretty popular. There's still quite a few examples of them around now, called a Goodell's Star Hunter. And it had pewter cast into it. Had an acorn right here cast in, and then it had a star. Now this is a rosewood handle on here, and there's a little story behind it. I've got a cabinet with a bunch of blocks of wood and handle scales and stuff that I've had for years, and I've got Paduke, and I've got walnut, and I've got used to have cocobolo and zebra woods and all that. I've got a little bit of ebony left. I've got some rosewoods left. You know, I've got cedar, cherry, just all kinds of woods in there. Anyway, I had a block of this block of rosewood, and it had holes drilled in it for some reason. I'm not sure. It was so long ago what I was making with it, and I don't know if you know, I screwed up drilling the holes or whatever, and they weren't in the right place. Or anyway, there was this block of wood in it, and it was rosewood, you know, and it's, you know, rosewood's pretty choice, you know, and it's not a cheap lumber. So I wanted to use it. So what I did is I just kind of drilled and filed out this crude pattern in where those holes were at. And then I had the idea to cast this this pewter into it, and it actually, it's a stick tang knife, and the tang goes all the way down to here, and it narrows right here, so it casts all the way through, so it actually is helping secure the blade into the handle. It's not just decoration, you know. It's not just ugly decoration, I should say, because it came out like that. There's the other flub up. My one of my holes, the drill walked on me and went out, and I don't know, and I didn't even notice it until I was finishing it. But so one of those pins got misaligned on it, and then I casted this pewter guard, which wasn't supposed to come out like that. It looks pretty crude, but it had all these little holes in it, these pockets. When I pulled the paper off, and I was like, you know what, that kind of looks pretty cool, you know, so I left it. And yeah, and my casting didn't fill in all the way. Right there, you see a void, you know, or it didn't. But you know what, if this was, you know, made 150 years ago up in the Highlands or whatever, and you know, it wouldn't have been a perfect looking knife anyway. Not, you know, I don't want any of my stuff looking factory made that I'm using for this knife series, you know. We're not talking store-bought knives, working knives. We're talking, you know, handcrafted, whatever, you know, type knives. But yeah, so that's a nice rosewood handle on it, and it's a pewter pommel, and then pewter in here, and the pins are just decorative. They don't serve any purpose. And the examples that I saw, and maybe you just saw in those pictures I showed you, I think that was indicative too, because it didn't seem like there was, not that nobody's making full tang versions of this now, because I know there's people that are, but it seemed like it was just more decorative in some of the ones I saw. So then the other challenge was making this scabbard for it, and this was my first attempt at putting any kind of metal furniture on a leather wrapped wooden scabbard. So I started off with a piece of mahogany, and I believe I took a picture while it was under construction, so it's right here. Yeah, so I started off with that, and then I glued it together, and then, you know, sanded it smooth and rounded the edges, and then I took this thin leather and I used some contact adhesive, and I glued it to the wood, and then I somehow made it too short. So I added this piece of heavier leather I wrapped around it, and so that covers up the fact that some of the blade's exposed when you put it in there, and you can just see a little bit of the hilt there. And yeah, I did a little bit of file work there on the blade. It's really just nothing as fancy as a lot of those others I saw, but and then yeah, and then this, I tried to saw, this brass was so thin, but I wanted something thin I could shape around the base of it, and then I soldered it, and it was actually melting through it and everything in the process, and all that, so that didn't come out great. And then I just had that thing sitting around in that line sitting around in a drawer up here, so I glued that on to kind of draw your eyes away from this nasty mess down here on it. But yeah, I'm happy with the way it came out. I really like this thing. So traditionally, yeah, you'd stick this in your what was it called, kilt hose. Yeah, traditionally you'd in ceremonies and stuff, they take this knife. It's, you know, it doesn't have a belt loop on it or anything like that. You stick it in your kilt hose. And that's how, you know, they carry them nowadays. Back in the day when they were actually, these were actual work knives in Scotland. I'm not sure how they just, you know, stuck them in a pocket, or, you know, how they carried them and stuff. But anyway, this is a Scottish Sgian Dubh, handcrafted with all of its flaws. But I like it. I think I'm going to use this. I don't, you know, I can make a nice little, it's a conversation piece, if nothing else, you know. I don't want it to just sit in a drawer and not get used when it's, you know, good usable knife, you know. And that is a Scottish Sgian Dubh, my interpretation of one. This side looks a little better. So I'll show you that side versus that side. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna get better at this pewter casting thing. I've got at least one or two more knives that I plan on doing some of it with, and yeah, hopefully I'll get better at it, learn some of the tricks of the trade, so to speak, in pewter casting. But anyway, so there she is, my interpretation of a Scottish Sgian Dubh as part of our Knives Around the World series. Not sure where we're going next. I may go back and do some more airgun videos. If you haven't seen those, check those out if you're interested in that kind of content. I still have to do a video on my e-bike. I want to do show my e-bike and everything. Anyway, yeah, if you're interested in any of that kind of stuff, just hit that subscribe and notification bell, and YouTube will let you know when the next video pops out and I get it uploaded. This is Dave. I really appreciate y'all kind of watching my videos, and I'll see you in the next one.